For today's video lesson, I prepared a question about trigonometry. This trigonometry question is from Real at Math Exam 0606. So here's the question we're going to look at today. There are some key points that students must be aware of in order to solve this question. So the key points are, first of all, you need to know how to sketch the sine graph and what is the meaning of domain and period. You have to apply these concepts into the question later on. And lastly, the very important key point in this question is whether you know how to solve trigonometry equation. This one is quite easy compared to other math question, but feel free to check if you know basic things about trigonometry already. Okay, so here is the real exam question. The question is asking to sketch the sine graph for 0 to 180, and you have to state the points where graph meets the coordinate axis. I'm going to state 5 different steps to solve this question to show each step clearly. You have to start thinking from inside to outside of the function. For the first step is to draw y equals to sine x. Hope you can easily figure it out how to draw y equals to sine x. And don't forget, when we draw the graph, you have to state x-axis, y-axis, and any important points in the graph. So these 1 and minus 1 are amplitude, and the curve looks like this. And don't forget, you have to also write 180 and 360 for the degree. This is it for step 1. And the second step is to draw y equals to sine 3 over 2x. Let me circle 3 over 2 here, since it is related to the period. So the formula for the period is 360 over b. In this case, we input 3 over 2 to the b. Then we're going to get 240 degrees for the period. So this one is the period. So let's draw the graph for step 2. We're going to set 240 degrees, and half of it is 120 degrees. And amplitude for 1 and minus 1, and sine shape like this. This is the graph for step 2. The third step is quite clear. Let me just write down the function first. Draw y equals to 2 sine 3 over 2x. Since this number 2 means the amplitude of the sine graph, we can simply change the amplitude to 2. Let me sketch the function for step 3, y and x-axis, and 120 and 240 for the degree, and the amplitude of 2 and minus 2. So the shape looks the same. This one is y equals to 2 sine 3 over 2x graph. Now let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is to draw y equals to 2 sine 3 over 2x minus 1. This minus 1 means we have to shift down by minus 1 vertically. The one that I'm drawing now is the graph for step 3. I'm drawing it again to show the movement clearly. We're gonna state 120 and 240 for the period and draw the shape like this first. And the amplitude for 2 and minus 2. And now we're going to shift down by minus 1. Then we can state 1 and minus 3. And draw the line for minus 1, the green line. So the graph for step 4 is gonna be like this. So let me highlight the graph. This one represents 2 sine 3 over 2x minus 1. Now we're going to apply the domain that question asks. Since the domain in this question is asking for 0 to 180, we're now going to erase the right part here. And since the question is also asking to find the points where graph meets the coordinate axis, we have to find out these 2 points here and here. How can we find out these 2 points? We can find out by solving 2 sine 3 over 2x minus 1 equals to 0. This equation represents the trig equation, and I'm telling my students that they must raise the ability to solve these kind of trig equation in order to get the highest final score for their GCSE and at math and of course in IB. So now let's move on to the final step. So the step 5 is to solve for 2 sine 3 over 2x minus 1 equals to 0. So in order to solve this question, first, you have to move minus 1 to the right. And then divide 2 to the right. Then we can write the equation as sine 3 over 2x equals to half. For those kind of equation, we cannot simply divide 3 over 2 to the right. This is the key point. So I recommend students to use substitution method for those kind of equation. We're going to let a equals to 3 over 2x. The letter a can be anything. Since sine 3 over 2x equals to half, now we can write this equation as sine a equals to half. Now we can write a equals to sine inverse half, or arc sine half. I'm going to show you how to find out the degree by using calculator.net. I use the degree mode and we are going to use sine inverse. So let's insert sine inverse 1 over 2. Then we're going to get the angle of 30 degrees. By using calculator, the reference angle is now 30 degrees. Since sine A equals to half, we know that the degree is going to be in the first and the second quadrant. Therefore, the value for A is going to be 30 and 150 degrees. Don't forget that we used substitution method. Since we let A equals to 3 over 2x, we can write an equation as 3 over 2x equals to 30 degrees and 3 over 2x equals to 150 degrees. Then the x value is going to be 20 degrees and 100 degrees. So now let's just complete the final answer for this question. We have to sketch the graph. And of course, we have to state the coordinates of the point where the graph meets the coordinate axis. So we should state -1. And draw the shape like this. And the smallest y value is going to be -3. Right, 20 and 100 degrees. This curve shape is the final answer for this question. So this is it for today's video. Hope it helps you to understand the important part of trigonometry, especially for math.